Well, I don't know what he's up to. He's picking me like chicken, shucking me like corn, stewing me like an ice.
Yo, y'all, it's your boy Drake, no homo. You about to listen to the #1 JFK-related podcast on planet Earth. Now here's the Triple B and JOEB. Let's get it.
Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were two shooters, and we should be finding more information as we are able to gain access into the SCIF. Hopefully.
From the back, I make an asshole clap. You ain't never had that. You little bristle. I suck the dick off the gristle and make your asshole whistle. The Andy Griffin theme song all night long. I make you whistle.
Here's the Triple B and JOEB, and the Triple B, baby, Triple B and JOEB, rock cocked and Joe Morelli. Triple B and JOEB, and the Triple B, baby, Triple B and JOEB, rock cocked and Joe Morelli. We're coming in, only seeking the truth about JFK. It's a long-coming podcast crew. Tell 'em, Joe, here we go.
And before we go, I have a very special message to the TLG fam from my Valentine.
Hi, TLG fam. I want to wish Rob and the supporting members, especially Tiny Dancer, a happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully Valentine's Day doesn't fall on a Friday for another 7 years, though. And here we go.
Boom. Good job, baby.
Lovely. Thank you, Erica. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the special Valentine's Day edition. Joe, you're my Valentine for the evening. Sorry, Erica. We can share, though. It's all good.
She's down with that.
We're power thruple. Welcome to the show. It's episode 330. It's going to be talking about H.L. Hunt, drilling for the truth and see if there's anything to all these crazy allegations since we had such a great time with our guest last week, James Day, talking about the far right. We decided, never really done a show on H.L. Hunt and gone too deep on him, but we're going to do that today. And if you missed it, oh boy, I don't know what to tell you, but we had a hell of a Wednesday show.
We always do.
Set up this show a good bit. We did a good bit of a preview on H.L. Hunt, right? And one thing, Joe, I wanted to correct you on real quick.
Sure.
Because thankfully I didn't put it on the cover art for this evening's show. Hunt ketchup was not made by H.L. Hunt Foods.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where did I get that from?
Huh?
I know he was big in the food.
He was. He had different brands of stuff that he made,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, Hunt ketchup was not one of them.
It wasn't that was it from Pittsburgh or somewhere? Or that's Heinz?
Yeah, that's Heinz.
Yeah.
Hunt comes from the Hunt brothers, who came out, I believe it was in the late 1800s, like 1888 or something. They came out with the food line, and Hunt's ketchup was one of their main deals, among some other things. But
Okay.
yeah,
Fair enough. And I can correct you because H.L. Hunt's yes, his replica house in Dallas was based off of George Washington's, not Thomas Jefferson's house.
Yes, I believe I was corrected by Alpha 66 on Wednesday evening for the same
I had to get even.
travesty of justice there. But before we get started, let's welcome in the people because, we miss them. And they're sharing their Valentine's Day time with us as well. So it's only fitting that we say hi to everybody who took some time here. Scott just ordered some Silk City. Oh
wow.
Bravo, sir.
Yes.
You're going to enjoy it. Enjoy it. Jeff, thanks.
Is that your first order, Scott? I feel like you've ordered it before, but I could be wrong.
Hey, sometimes you need to re-up, Joe.
Oh, well, I know.
You know, you start to get low. It's time to put another order in.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to be like Scott and order some Silk City, link below in the description. The code is Gunman, all caps, GUNMAN. Boom.
Yeah, and Rob, I saw Jeff's video. I think he released yesterday or the day before. He made a new batch of ghost pepper apple cider hot sauce, and it looks fire. And he was doing like a video on YouTube. Go over and search that to subscribe, and he was just doing the whole process. It was awesome, man. I love what he's doing with the YouTube thing.
Yeah, definitely. So
Maha, got to make America healthy again. No additives.
All natural. No preservatives either.
Yes.
Trey is in the house. What is up, Trey? Paula is in. Hello, Paula.
Paula, how are you, man?
Sally is back. We missed you Wednesday night, Sally.
We did.
Our buddy Lee Ralph is in the house. What's up, Lee?
Hey, Lee.
Man. Bungled is in. What's up, Bungled? Alpha 66, Big Mike.
Yeah, and prayers out. Mike lost his mom last night. So if you believe in prayer, pray for him.
Send him a few.
Yeah.
Tiny Dancer's in the house. Hi, Tiny. How are you?
Tiny.
Happy Valentine's Day, Tiny.
Yeah. Erica, Tiny, wish you a happy Valentine's Day. Thumbs up from Erica.
South to West is in the house. David S. is in the house. What's up, David?
Yes. Hey, David, how are you?
Let's see. Timothy Ryan is in the house. What's up, Tim?
Yeah.
What's up? South. Oh, wait a minute. I did say South to West already. Scott Edwards is in the house. What's up, Scott? Hello, Scott. That's my Mike Myers impression. Dr. Evil. Let's see. Awesome. I believe that's everybody. We got a full house to kick this thing off, Joe.
Yeah. And want to thank the few dozen people on Reddit that came over last week. I made a post last week talking about our guest. We got a bunch of new subscribers, a few dozen, and made a post probably like half an hour ago. So we have a lot of love over there. Everyone's like, I love your show. I'm a big fan. I always listen. And we've never been on Reddit.
No. Well, the backstory to this, folks, is I got on some weird email chain with Janet Bannister, right? And there was another dude on this thing, and his name on there was Single Bullet Query. So I'm thinking, does this guy have a podcast? Or something? I don't know. Doesn't have his real name. So I Googled it, and nothing. Nothing comes up. Nothing at all. So I'm thinking, who is this? Because he seemed kind of low nutterish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, who in the hell is this? So I don't know. Months go by. And then he reaches out to me and says, you finally got around to watching us when we had Janet on. It was a great show, blah, blah, blah. And he said that he was I guess, what do you call it when you make a
moderator?
A thing on Reddit, like what is that?
You're not talking about a moderator. It's
it's the R dash whatever the hell.
Oh, it's a community. So
okay.
Yeah, it's a subreddit. I think it's called.
Okay.
Like a group. I think it's called the JFK assassination. It has
one S in the second ass. Yeah. For some reason. I don't know if that's on purpose or if dude just can't spell. I don't know.
Over
assassination, the second part, one S.
Tens of thousands of members. Yeah.
Yeah. Like 20,000 some people over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to post something, when he first told me about it. He was like, yeah, head over there. He's like, I'm the moderator. I'll give you like special status or whatever it's called. I don't know nothing about Reddit. But apparently because I've never posted on Reddit before, I've got no juice or whatever it's called over there.
Karma.
Yeah. So my post is still awaiting approval from early December. And so Joe goes over there and he posts something that goes right up. I'm like, what the fuck? I said, how does that happen? I got a lot of karma.
I got 1K plus karma, bro.
I was like, what in the hell is that? Apparently you build up karma by posting on Reddit.
If you get an upvote on your post, you get a karma. So if I make a post and it gets 100 upvotes, and I think our last one got like 70, that's how you get the karma. So I would have gotten 100 karma, and I got 1,000 over the years. Haven't been too active on it, but apparently it's a very happening place, Rob. A lot of JFK discussion there. So
yeah, it's a whole big community we knew nothing about. So if you want to check it out and you use Reddit, if you don't use Reddit, skip it because it's hard to figure out. But yeah, just go to Reddit and look up the subreddit JFK assassination with the second ass spelled with one S. And if it's got about 20,000 people or members, you're in the right spot. And then I guess you can join in different discussions as you want to.
Just like the education forum or any group chat type of thing.
Yes. Perpetual Concepts has entered the chat.
Oh, what's up, bud?
Happy Valentine's Day, sir.
And Italiano Joe. Salute.
Salute.
Yes.
Salute.
Timothy loves Reddit. Are you familiar with that group, Timothy? But it seems to be at least one of the largest ones. So
yeah, go join over there and give Joe some more karma on his posts.
Yeah. Come on. Hey, our karma got us some new subs. So
don't
roll your eyes at that.
But my post from 3 months ago, we'd already have 2,000 if they would just open the gate and let me in.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Good thing you mentioned that, Rob. We are at 1,920, I think 5 followers on YouTube. We are trying to get to 2,000 soon. So if you are seeing this and you are not subscribed, what are you doing? Please click the subscribe button.
Yeah.
And support your boys.
Wait, I finally found an easy way for folks to join the channel, become a channel member. Okay. There is a link in the description of this video to do just that. So if you'd like to support the show and you're not already a member or you haven't figured out how to do it yet, all you got to do is click a link now. And I'm going to start putting it in the description of all of our Friday videos to make it easy for people. Because I know a lot of people listen on their phone, and for some reason, it's damn near impossible to figure out how to do it on the phone. If it is even possible, I don't know.
Lehman Cruz says his Reddit karma is 190,000 plus. Well, sir, give us some of your karma.
Shit, he's a Reddit god.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Timothy said he's going to look it up. And what else on the Reddit thing? Bobby don't got no karma. He's working on it. South to West, he's working on it.
No, I've got zero karma.
I think you have some karma.
Not at Reddit.
Not at Reddit.
Maybe in the world.
In the world, that's right.
Yeah. In the ether, yes. Yes. I'm due so much karma, you have no idea. Most of it not good. But we all end up paying for our sins eventually, I guess. Just have to hope the good outweighs the bad at the end of the old,
Yeah. When you go to the pearly gates.
Yeah.
And yeah, from your lips to God's ears, as they say, perpetual concepts. 2K, then 10, then 100, and it will be done. And we do have some exciting things on the horizon in the next couple of weeks. I'm not going to spoil it now, but we'll be on another big JFK podcast, and that host will be hopefully on with us in March. So,
Not as big as this one, but
Not-
another JFK podcast. Yes.
yes. And Paula, Scott Edwards, and Trey might know who he is because
I love it
we
when I
met him in Dallas, and he came and gave us a bottle of Jack Daniels before he left for his flight. So if that's not a qualification of a cool dude, I'm not sure.
All right, you ready to talk some HL Hunt?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Hunt. So this dude lived a crazy life, and I don't want to rehash everything that we talked about on Wednesday night, but the majority of the people weren't here for it, so you may hear some repetition. I'm not trying to do that. But when you're talking about this guy, Haroldson Lafayette Hunt Jr., self-made billionaire. Okay. He did it the old-fashioned way, from nothing to something, and lived a very frugal lifestyle. Now, don't get it twisted. He did like the finer things in life when it comes to certain things, like a house. Okay. But cars, he really didn't give a shit about. He rolled around in, just a regular car any Joe could afford, He cut his own hair. He refused to pay for haircuts. He took his lunch in a brown paper sack, much like Lee Oswald, every day to work. He had his little bologna sandwich with a piece of cheese on it and an apple every day. Right?
A juice box.
And a juice box just for me. And my HL Hunt tomato sauce, tomato catsup. All right. So yeah, he went from nothing to something. But of course, this dude had very far right wing leaning principles and ideals. That's right, Tiny. A billionaire. Billionaire. Hi, Colleen.
Yep. Hundreds of millions at that time, adjusted for inflation, and his, of course, numerous oil wells. They say the biggest oil well in Texas, I think it was East Oil or something.
Oh yeah.
He struck literal gold.
Yeah, and he did it with no straight out capital. Like he was a smart guy. He was a homeschooled, okay?
Mhm.
But while he wasn't very savvy in like, the ways of the world type of thing, he was smart in dealing with people. And what he would do is make deals with people that own land and guarantee them a return for a certain percentage, right? And then he would broker those deals to somebody else and be the middleman and not have to do anything.
Yeah.
So he amassed a good fortune kind of doing that. He owned some cotton picking fields.
Rob, can I stop you? Did you hear in your research this week the rumor or the myth of how he won that land that later became the East Oil, or his bread and butter? He won it allegedly at a poker game.
Yes, that is the rumor.
And of course that can't be confirmed, but that has been the myth. So
yeah. Then in the 30s, he was able to purchase the rights to East Texas oil lands through a $30,000 land purchase from spectator old Dad Joyner, who we talked about on Wednesday evening down there. He was a wildcatter. is what they called him back in. That some bitch could smell oil from 16.9 miles away in the middle of the desert. From that acquisition and others, including diverse interests in publishing, cosmetics. That's right, Joe. You heard that right. He made lipstick and rouge and foundation.
Foundation.
He was big into pecans, right? He had some pecan trees in his front yard. And he was big into pecan farming and health food. He also had a Faxed Forum Foundation that would later support his highly conservative newspaper columns and his radio programs, some of which he authored and produced himself, and for which he became known, as I pointed out Wednesday night, for becoming basically the first ever podcaster, right? Like, you got money, bro. So he would pay to get his show, Lifeline, onto radio stations. And I believe at one point it was up to 500 or 600 radio stations around the world. Now, I don't know if he bought all that time, but he certainly could have if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But the right-wing ideology, the anti-communist rhetoric, was popular at the time. So I'm sure some of these stations, did carry it. And they paid him for it. But yeah, when he got to start, he was buying time to do a daily, 30-minute, hour-long show. First podcaster. H.L. Hunt.
Visionary, yes.
A revolutionary.
Both.
So let's see.
And when you'd like, sir, I have about a 3 or 4 minute clip detailing a video detailing H.L. Hunt and his estate and his bagged lunch and all that good stuff. When it's ready, when you tell me, sir.
Right. I didn't tell you yet, though, did I?
No, I said when you're ready.
Okay. Gotcha. After his cotton plantations had flooded in Louisiana down near Shreveport, Trey, he turned his last $100 that he had in his name into more than $100,000 after he gambled in New Orleans. He had Clay Shaw blow on his dice before he tossed them. If you know what I'm saying.
No, you're bad.
Yeah, I know.
Minus some karma there.
Yeah. Add it to the list, right? See you in hell, everybody. It's all good. So I want to talk a little bit about his proclivity, Joe. His proclivity. Okay. And you know what I mean by proclivity?
I might, but why don't you let the audience know?
I mean his cocksmithing ability. Now, when you're a billionaire, I'm sure it's not relatively hard to bed a nice Southern lady a time or two, or multiple times, or 15 times.
Oh, I know.
Turns out, Joe, H.L. Hunt, at least the children that he admitted to or could be proven were his, 15 children. Although he likely had more, folks. But these are the ones that are legit. And some of the names of his kids, I'm going to read through them here. You're going to love this. You are going to love this. All right, so first we have Margaret Hunt Hill, who actually died in 2007. She was co-owner of Hunt Petroleum. Hassie Hunt III, that's H.L. Hunt III, diagnosed with schizophrenia in the early 40s, co-owner of Hunt Petroleum. He lived in the Cuckoo Bin until 2005.
Oh, wow. He hung on, huh?
Yeah. Caroline Rose Hunt, founder and honorary chairman of Rosewood Hotels and Resorts, which operates the mansion on Turtle Creek, right near General Walker's house. Lyda Bunker Hunt died as an infant, not even a month old. That sucks. Nelson
Happened a lot those days, unfortunately.
Bunker Hunt. Nelson Bunker Hunt.
Okay.
Tried to corner the silver market in 1979 along with his brother, convicted of conspiring to manipulate the silver market. Joe?
Yeah. You know, I read about that, Rob, today,
Yeah.
and they had bought so much silver, it had gone to over $50 an ounce. And just for comparison, and I think that's in the 50s or 60s, today it's like $32 an ounce. So, and if you multiply that by inflation, they bought a ton of the silver on the market to try to corner.
They literally almost bought it all. And Muammar Gaddafi, you can thank Muammar Gaddafi for busting up that. Okay.
Oh, really?
Really? Yeah, I guess these Nelson Bunker Hunt and his brother were developing Libyan oil fields, and it was Muammar Gaddafi who busted them out of them for trying to corner that market, and they lost all their interest in Libyan oil. Gaddafi kicked him out of his country.
Huh.
Then there's the famous super spy, Joe, Howard Lee Hunt. Died in 1975. Haroldina, Joe. Haroldina French Hunt.
Mm-hmm. And of course, HL's name was Harold, his
Yes.
first. So
Yes.
he named his daughter after.
Could you imagine getting with a chick named Haroldina?
Not really. I mean, if she was dope enough, I'd be down, I'm sure. Erica, close your hands on ears. Valentine's Day.
See, what's her father's name?
Whose father?
Erica's.
I think it's Mitchell.
So if her name was Michelina, that's not too bad, I don't guess.
No, it's not as bad as Haroldina.
Yeah, Haroldina's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
William Herbert Hunt, Helen Lee Hunt, Lamar Hunt. Of course, that's the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, co-founder of the American Football League and the North American Soccer League, owner of the Columbus Crew, FC Dallas, backer of the World Championship Tennis, coined the name Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He asked his kids what they should call it, and his kids' name said the Super Bowl. So that's why the Super Bowl is named the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and there's the Lamar Hunt Trophy, which I believe is given to the AFC Championship winner every year. So, ironically, the Chiefs,
Not shaped like a bottle of ketchup.
the Chiefs, the past 3 years, owned by the Hunts, won the Lamar Hunt Trophy.
Of course.
Of course.
Then we have Hugh S. Hunt, Ray Lee Hunt, June Hunt, Helen Hunt, not the actress, Swanee Hunt, former U.S. ambassador to Austria, now head of the Women in Public Policy program at the John F. Kennedy School of Government in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And H.L. Hunt died in 1974, right? But in 1975, after his death, it was discovered that he had hidden a bigamous relationship with a second wife while living in New York. After his marriage to Ruth Ray, Hunt became a Baptist and was a member of the First Baptist Church of Dallas. He was a major financial contributor toward the establishment of the conservative evangelical Criswell College in Dallas. He died at Baylor Hospital in Dallas after several months of being illmatic at the age of 85. Not buried. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, buried in Sparkman Hillcrest Memorial Park. Has a somewhat famous grandchild who plays in a black metal death band called Liturgy. And his or her name, I can't figure it out, is Hala Hunt Hendricks. H.L. Hunt also served as the inspiration behind the character J.R. Ewing from the famous Dallas TV show that we talked about in depth on the Wednesday Secret Show. So
that
if you watched our Secret Show and you're a member, go back and watch it because we go Dallas deep. Talk a little J.R. Ewing, School Joe a little bit, and we know it was before his time.
which reference went completely above my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Who Shot JR thing, and yeah, it was great. So check that out. Let's see. Let's talk about his JFK conspiracy allegations just for a second. Well, one part of it, anyway, right now. So, Madeline Duncan Brown, who I believe is a liar on par with Beverly Oliver and Judy Baker, who was an advertising executive, claimed to have had both an extended love affair and a son with President Lyndon Baines Johnson, said she was present at a party in Dallas at the home of Clint Murchison Sr., another oil tycoon, the evening prior to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which she says was attended by Johnson as well as other famous, wealthy, and powerful individuals, including H.L. Hunt, Clint Murchison, J. Edgar Hoover, and Richard Nixon, Tricky Dick. According to Brown, Johnson had a meeting with several of the men, after which he told her, "After tomorrow, those goddamn Kennedys will never embarrass me again. That's no threat. That's a promise." And then he bent her over the windowsill and took her to Pound Town, baby. Brown's story received national attention and became part of at least a dozen JFK assassination conspiracy theories, but Kennedy assassination investigator Dave Perry refuted this theory with evidence showing that neither President Johnson nor Hoover were in Dallas the night before the assassination. And Murchison had not lived in his Dallas home for a number of years. Witnesses actually placed Clint Murchison at his East Texas ranch the night before the assassination. So a lot of hooey horse shit there, right?
Yeah.
So Joe,
and the Nixon thing, which is a stretch.
Yeah. I mean, we know Nixon was in town.
Yeah, but he had left
bottling company thing or whatever it was.
I believe he had left that night, like the Thursday night, from memory.
But Nixon actually liked Kennedy. Okay, he wouldn't have attended a meeting to, and been part of some secret cabal to have him killed, for Christ's sake.
No, they had mutual respect for each other. Definitely did. They were both World War II veterans. Yeah, I mean, the Nixon claims are absurd, but continue.
They are absurd. One other thing that we'll get to your video.
Sure.
So I mentioned before of his bigamy, right? Which is basically cheating on your wife, type of thing. But only this is a little worse than that. Okay, because he actually tried to marry. He married some other woman where he was still married to somebody else, right? So what they did about that, in 1925 in Florida, okay, H.L. Hunt married Frania Ty of Tampa, Florida, in November 25 using the name Franklin Hunt. Frania claimed to have discovered the bigamous nature of her marriage in 1934, 9 years later, and in a legal settlement in 1941, Hunt created trust funds for each of their 4 children, and she signed a document stipulating that no legal marriage between them had ever existed. At about the same time, she briefly married, then divorced Hunt's employee, John Lee, taking the last name Lee for herself and her 4 children. Her 4 children by Hunt were Howard, Helen, Hugh, and Haroldina. Hey, Trey. Hunt supported and had children by another woman,
Where was she located?
Ruth Ray, Shreveport, Louisiana, to the northwest of Alexandria, whom he had met while she was a secretary in his Shreveport office. They married in 1957 after the death of Hunt's wife, Lyda. His 4 children by her were Ray Lee, June, Helen, and Swanee.
June.
Yeah.
That's ironic.
His youngest son, Ray Lee, inherited the business and was a major supporter of President George W. Bush. All right, the video, Joe.
Sure, let's do it. All right.
Take it away.
Yeah, and I think this was released in the late 60s, possibly 1970. It doesn't give a date on the video, but fascinating interview. We're going to play a couple minutes.
Hang on, Joe.
Yeah.
Hold on. Trey, guess where the Frania Ty Lee trial was held? Let me guess, Trey. Shreveport, Louisiana. Am I right? I know I'm probably right. Okay.
A lot of things going on in Shreveport, as we have discussed.
All right, let's go to Mount Vernon, baby.
Yes. Mount Vernon, Dallas.
Yes. Home of Thomas Jefferson.
In that same Dallas, before a house modeled on George Washington's own Mount Vernon, but of course a wee bit bigger, another rich Texan and his wife go about their early morning ritual of raising the flag. But Haroldson Lafayette Hunt is the richest Texan of them all. Until recently, he was
after he raised the flag in his bedroom that morning.
I'm sorry?
I said this is after he raised the flag in his bedroom that morning.
Yeah.
They go out the front door and raise that flag on the flagpole.
Yeah, and I think that's a Texas flag.
Yes, I see stars and stripes, Joe.
I can't tell, but interesting that he does it himself, right?
Yes, all by himself. He pulls that rope.
Or maybe this was for the video shoot.
He now seems to have stumbled a little in those particular stakes. A multi-millionaire. Estimates put his worth at between 300 and 500 million pounds, and his weekly income at about £500,000. That is over 75,000.
He looks to be fumbling a bit, like he's not used to doing it.
Yeah, yeah, and this is
he makes his wife do it.
Yeah, and this is a BBC clip here, which is why they put it in pounds.
Hunt made his money in oil, and still makes it mostly in oil, though he's branched out now into everything from raising cattle to selling real estate, from peddling patent medicines to promoting professional football, from canning foods to building holiday resorts. Yet he permits himself few pleasures. He takes his lunch to work with him every morning in a brown paper bag.
Like
just throws it on the chute.
No villa on the Riviera, no penthouse in Acapulco.
A real layman would just get in the driver's seat and throw that some bitch over on the passenger seat.
He doesn't even indulge in a Cadillac.
Man, kiss me, honey. Right on the cheek. That's it, baby. All right. Have a good day at work.
I drive medium-sized, medium-priced cars, and I buy ready-made suits. And
this is so awkward.
Even after they get pretty old, well, I get quite fond of them and wear them longer, I think, than most people would. And I don't smoke anymore, haven't for years. And I drink practically no alcoholic beverages. whatsoever.
Hunt seldom takes a holiday, and rarely, in fact, leaves his home city of Dallas.
I don't care much for travel. I have traveled some, but it was always for a purpose that I was going somewhere.
To spread my
I
seed
made
far and
a
wide.
tour outside.
I'm sorry?
The only time he traveled was just to spread his seed far and wide.
Yeah. And to South America, as he will explain in a second, I think.
America back in 1956. And I got quite a good insight into each one of the governments down there. And I have a bad reputation, whether rightful or not, of being frugal. I'm proud of being frugal.
But as well as being perhaps the most frugal, the most stingy plutocrat of Texas, H.L. Hunt is probably the most controversial. For he is a fervent advocate of right-wing, some would say reactionary causes. He is against the UN, against the war on poverty, against Medicare, against central government aid of any sort. He would rather Washington didn't rule the United States at all. And in his ideal land, votes would be distributed according to the amount of taxes you paid.
I haven't heard that before. The amount of dollars I pay in taxes, I should get an equal amount of votes for. That's a new one to me.
Hell yeah. He's the master of many quotes.
Hey, if I was him, I'd probably have that same view.
Yeah.
More than most Texans, even, he is inclined to see communists under every couch and behind every curtain.
Look at these secretaries.
Mankind is divided into communists.
Look, Izzy, here he comes.
His private word for anti-communists. You are either for him or against him. He brooks no halfway position.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hey, Mr. Hunt.
Good morning.
A seemingly gentle man to meet, H.L. Hunt is thought by many to be the most dangerous plutocrat of Texas.
And after I just walked past all those secretaries, the first thing I'm going to do when I get to work is sit down here at my desk and play it, Joe.
I was listening to your commentary.
Play it. It's a running commentary.
The people he backs with his wealth.
I'm going to pick up this phone here and I'm going to ask somebody who's on the other end.
You have any important calls?
Do you have any important calls for me? No.
I'll get
Okay.
to that later. I'll accept them later.
I'm busy. Good day.
Well, I'm all in favor of private initiative, people having the pride of accomplishment and self-sufficiency. And so I don't believe, for instance, in this war on poverty. I think that is a phony thing. There are people that, well, people are put on the dole, and also they will hardly many of them consider taking the job because that would interfere with their relief payments. There is no other country in the United States that has any chance to stop communism except the United States. It's the only country in the world that can halt it and turn it back.
And endeavoring to turn that tide is how H.L. Hunt spends most of his day and most of his wealth. He churns out letters by the thousand to the editors of every conceivable cornball country hit newspaper in America. He indicates a weekly column and writes and publishes paperbacks on his views. His staff copy without questioning every telegram or letter he has sent, every article or story that is written about him. And few visitors can escape his office without a bundle of his bum, without a load of his litter. His main propaganda weapon is a radio program, which is carried daily by over 400 stations the length and breadth of America. Its message is one of imminent disaster facing the United States from the enemy within, particularly from the enemy within the federal heartland at Washington. It is a familiar message, of course, among American right-wingers, and a favorite with many of his fellow Texan plutocrats. But during the last 2 years, H.L. Hunt has added another emotive missile to his armory. His league of so-called youth freedom speakers, engaging young teenagers drilled to deliver 3-minute bursts of his propaganda to Rotary clubs and Bible classes.
Many people in the United States really don't believe that communism is a serious threat. Well, these people are in for a big shock because the communists have every intention of doing exactly what they've said they'll do. And they do not hesitate to use force and violence anytime they think that it.
All right.
I'm just waiting for her to start dancing and taking her clothes off. Okay.
She almost does. But I feel like we had enough. But I think that that gave an interesting.
Laughing, everybody.
It gave an interesting insight into his life. I thought. I mean, I had never seen that before. Stumbled on it today. So very interesting, right?
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm just catching up on some of the comments, and there are some good ones.
I'm going to read this one other, actually FBI document I got.
Sure.
From May 15th, 1964, the FBI interviewed Nelson Bunker Hunt of Lakeside Drive with offices on the 7th floor of the Mercantile Securities Building. An independent oil operator at the outset of interview requested that his secretary call his attorney as soon as we showed up to be interviewed. He was therefore interviewed in the presence of his attorney, a Mr. Ivan Irwin. So the FBI shows up to interview him, and he says, "Look, I'm not talking to you guys without my lawyer here."
Mm-hmm.
So Hunt readily admitted having contributed cash to Joe Grinnan for the purposes of placing an advertisement in the Dallas Morning News. This advertisement appeared on November 22nd, 1963, and was signed by the American Fact-Finding Committee. Hunt termed it an article which asked some embarrassing questions of President Kennedy. He said he could not recall the amount he contributed, but believed it was somewhere between $200 and $300. He gave the contribution to Joe Grinnan in cash, merely reaching in his pocket and pulling forth that, along with some pocket lint. He exhibited this by reaching in his pocket and exposing a roll of bills that he had tucked down by his penis while being interviewed. He said John Grinnan contacted him several days before the Dallas Morning News ran the advertisement and told him by telephone that the Dallas Morning News would publish this advertisement. He later came by the Hunt office and received the money, Mr. Hunt related. Hunt was unable to state whether he had read the article prior to the publication, but stated that Grinnan might have read some of it over the phone or might have told him about it. He stated the article was a harsh criticism of President Kennedy's policies, but in a dignified way. He stated the money contributed by him was his own money, and he did not solicit or obtain contributions from any other person for his personal contributions to this fund. Hunt stated that he did not know Lee Harvey Oswald or Jack Ruby, and stated he had never had any contact with either one of them. He did not know the names of others who had contributed toward the cost of the advertisement and did not know Bernard Weissman, whose name appeared on the actual advertisement. He understood that Weissman came from New York after reading the papers and was a Jew, a dirty Jew, he said. So there's that. Now, there are more allegations, many more allegations, and we'll get into them, that come from certain people that were, I guess you could say, around him at the time, Joe. In particular, and I showed this to Joe after we got off the show Wednesday. I remembered somebody reached out to me many years ago, 7 years ago to be exact, and told me that they had written a book about H.L. Hunt and the Kennedy assassination, and did I want a copy to look at? Sure, 7 years ago, whatever. I mean, it's legit. Like, I even showed him the thing. It's like legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the book, he did send it to me. It's right here. H.L. Hunt, Motive and Opportunity, right? And it was written by Mitchell Whittington, as told. Well, it was told to Mitchell Whittington by John Curington, who was one of H.L. Hunt's lawyers. Okay, going back quite a ways back. And also, so there's lots of allegations in this book, and we'll get into them, but we're going to talk about another individual who was part of the Hunt cabal, assassination cabal. And Joe has got more information on him, and that would be Mr. Paul Rothermel, who I believe was part of Hunt's security team, or was he another lawyer as well?
You know, he was actually a lawyer and head of security.
There you go.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I know. He did have
my karma just went up.
Yeah. Karma, you'll be able to post soon on Reddit.
You goddamn right, Roger. I am.
Yes. He always does. And I got to give a shout out to Roger because before Rob even messaged me earlier in the week and said we should do a follow-up thing on some of the right-wing people in Dallas, Roger and I were messaging, and he said, you should do an episode on the Hunts. And when you sent me that message, I thought like he must have messaged you too, right? That's
well, yeah, he did.
Logical. Okay. Yeah.
He said talk about it, and combined with the fact that we just had the dude on, we're talking about the far right. Yeah, it makes sense to do a show about Hunt because we never had.
Yeah, and it's hard 330 episodes in to find a person that you have not done a podcast on. I'm sure you've talked about him, of course, but not an episode. So we thought it'd be interesting, and thank you, Roger, for your topic recommendation.
God, Joe, could you picture these two vacationing in Cancun on a sandy beach, rubbing lotion on each other? Their pasty white skin.
Gruber said that Hunt plus Walker vacationed in Mexico shortly after the assassination.
Sure they did.
Well, I know of two people who allegedly might have vacationed in Mexico after the assassination. And that might have been Lauren Hall and Lawrence Howard, which I'm sure you've heard that before, right? Yes. So yeah, I wanted to dig into a little bit of Paul Rothermel, HL's kind of head of security here. And I'm
still sick and coughing all over the place. So
I saw it.
If I'm muting myself, it's because I'm dying.
I
will be back temporarily in a second.
It is okay, sir. It is okay.
There's a Mr. Wednesday show. Your boy's been sick all week.
Yeah.
Gradually getting better, though, but not very fast. But, yeah.
Well, you're a trooper. The show definitely must go on. So,
yes.
There are a ton of allegations regarding Rothermel, and that goes from acquiring the Zapruder film in the hours after the assassination, being an integral.
The what film, Joe?
The Zapruder film.
Oh, okay.
Did I misspeak that?
It sounded like you did.
Oh.
Zapruder film.
Zapruder, yes. No. Zapruder. To having
a 80s TV show, Magruder.
Magruder. To having a pre-assassination meeting with Jack Ruby and Eugene Hale Brading, also known as Jim Braden, to Marina visiting the Hunt's office in the weeks after the assassination.
I got more on that, and it's in the book.
Boom. Cool. I don't have any on that. So synchronicity.
You want to touch
Just
on
the
it?
allegation.
You want to touch on it real quick because it's
Do it.
interesting.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. The section in this is Mr. Hunt and Mrs. Oswald. This account begins in 1963 on a Saturday morning, a short time after the Kennedy assassination. Now, I don't think this is the morning after the assassination, but maybe the next week. I believe she probably would have been living with Martin by then, right, Joe?
Yeah.
And he may have even taken her.
It happened. She moved in I believe the 29th or 30th of November.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lee was killed on the 24th, so that's less than a week. Yeah.
And when we did the Martin show, we did find documents saying that that he had taken her around to a bunch of banks to open joint accounts with her or in her own name because she didn't have anything like that.
He 100% did.
Yeah. And you know where H.L. Hunt's office was? It was in the First Republic Bank building. Okay. So it wouldn't be odd to see Marina in a bank owned by H.L. Hunt. Thank you, John. Loose Moose crew battling through illness to bring forth JFK info, fighting the good fight. Yes, we are trying, sir, trying.
Thank you so much, John.
Yes, John, you always rock. So, he goes on to say that the H.L. Hunt oil offices were housed in both the Mercantile National Bank building and the Mercantile Securities building, which together covered the entire 1800 block of Commerce Street. Now, H.L. Hunt also had an office in the First Republic Bank building as well, which is where we just saw the video of him walking through and greeting all the secretaries and all that jazz right up on the 7th floor. A steel door connected to both buildings that we're talking about here on Commerce Street. A steel door connected the two buildings on the 7th floor. So, and that door was never closed or locked. Hunt employees were constantly using the door to pass between the two adjoining buildings, but this could only be accomplished on the 7th floor. In fact, only 3 people had a key to the door. Mr. Hunt had one, an executive with Hunt Oil had another, and I had the third. That would be John Carrington, who is writing the book. That morning, Mr. Hunt instructed me to go to the Mercantile Bank building as soon as possible and lock the steel door on the 7th floor. I was then to check that floor of the Mercantile Bank building to make sure that no Hunt employee was present. Should I encounter anyone, I was to instruct them to go home immediately. Once that floor was empty, my final assignment was to go down to the lobby, floor by floor, and empty the building out and wait there in the lobby. If any Hunt employees came to work, I was to instruct them to turn around and leave and not come back for the day. Having completed the first 2 tasks, I stood in the lobby and waited. There was no activity for a while, until Mr. Hunt came in around 8:30 a.m. I advised him that all his security requests had been followed to the letter and no Hunt employee was in either building. Mr. Hunt told me that soon a woman would come into the lobby, and I was not to speak with her or even acknowledge her presence. And with that, he turned and walked to the elevator and took it upstairs. A bit later, a woman did, in fact, walk into the building. She was alone and wearing a modest dress. I recognized her immediately as Marina Oswald, the widow of Lee Harvey Oswald. At that time, her picture was all over the media, papers, magazines, television, and because of the recent events, she was a very recognizable person. There's just no question that it was her. We didn't speak or even glance at each other. She ignored me and walked directly to the elevator, pushed the button to 7, then disappeared inside. I remained in the lobby and had to intercept 2 other Hunt employees who were trying to come to work. As I'd been told to do, I instructed them to leave immediately and not to come back to work that day and that they would be paid for their trouble. About 20 minutes later, I heard an elevator door open and Marina stepped out. She walked across the lobby and out of the back exit. This was in my line of sight, so I watched as she got into a black automobile with U.S. government license plates. Once inside, the car drove away. Not long after that, the elevator opened again. Mr. Hunt came out. He made no comment whatsoever on what had taken place upstairs or who he had met with. Instead, he told me to go and unlock the door between the two buildings and take the rest of the day off with pay, which I did. Looking back, I have no way of knowing what floor Marina visited or what her business was in that bank building that Saturday, but it seems more than a coincidence that Mr. Hunt wanted the offices cleared so that whatever he was doing or whoever he was meeting, it would be completely private. He had never, ever done that before and never, ever did it again while all the time I worked for him, for anyone. At the time, H.L. Hunt's political views were well known. The Hunt name had been spread throughout the world, and many fingers were being pointed at H.L. Hunt involving the death of John F. Kennedy. So he goes on, to wonder why Marina would go to deny ever meeting with H.L. Hunt. Okay, but this account is mentioned in various places by various people. Why would he lie about it? First of all. And it's not just this guy that said it, but his supposition for the visit is very PG, low key, right? And Mr. Hunt always said that he could give him 10 minutes with somebody and he could read them. And if he thought that you were a genuine person, right, then he would help you out. Like he flew somebody in. There's a story in the book that he flew somebody in for a job interview from Hawaii to Texas, right? Paid for their airfare, accommodations, everything. Brought him all the way from Hawaii, interviewed him. Within 10 minutes, he knew that this was not the guy for the job. Okay. So he told the guy, sorry, you're just not a good fit, or whatever the case may be. But he told me to cut him a check for $6,000 to thank them for their time and paid for their airfare back to Hawaii, which is something he did on a regular basis. He would very generous to people that he thought were legit and not scam artists. So his analysis of this Marina meeting is that he genuinely probably wanted to help this poor woman, right? If he felt that she was in need of it. Because, there's all this going on in the news. She has 2 small children, no house, now no husband, So what he thinks it was him giving her money, straight cash, just to help her out. And then he wanted to remain anonymous and, please don't tell anybody type of thing.
Well, that would have been interesting, Rob, because obviously he was vehemently anti-communist. So being Marina coming from Russia, and of course, still at that time being under suspicion of having some role, that would seem like a stretch for him based on what I think we've learned about him, but still interesting.
Yeah. There's allegations that, she went there to sleep with him for money, right? Which I don't believe. Oh.
He was pretty old at that point. He can get anyone if you want to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was 71 at this point. Prolific dude, cocksmith, sure, 15 known kids.
Yeah.
Multiple wives, bigamous relationships. Yeah. Would you just because you can? You could say you did, Joe.
Seems more risk than reward to me.
Just 10 minutes, Joe. That's all I need. Here is $10,000 cash, lady.
But there were still a lot of speculation that she could have been communist or had some type of communist influence on Oswald. I don't think he would have risked that. Just my gut reaction from reading.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm just having a very funny picture in my head about it.
Yeah.
Take
I
that,
mean,
communist bitch.
did you see the secretaries in her office, in his office? I mean,
Yeah, they were all smoke shows.
yeah, exactly. So,
But there's something about that Russian accent, Joe. Yeah, I
that,
don't know.
that is true. You can't.
Would he?
That
Could
is,
he? Just because you can, so you can say
uh,
you did? I don't know.
I can't rule it out. No.
No, but it was likely something along those lines, where it was an innocent thing, where you wanted to talk to her, get a sense of her, where she was coming from, and he probably genuinely felt that she could use the help and helped her out and told her, "Don't ever tell anybody, please." You know?
Yeah. It's definitely possible. I don't think it's likely, but you never know with billionaires.
Hold on, we got John Lim back up in here.
Oh, we do.
Hold on. Yeah. What's up, John? Wanted to share some sad news. John Pappas, Skip Hall's stepson, who Skip handed the rifle to, passed away at age 80. He sent me more photos and info on Skip just weeks before he passed. Damn.
Oh no.
Huh. Well, that sucks. That really sucks. Mm.
Well, at least you were able to get some more photos and corresponding with him before he passed. I know he's been on the Lauren Hall and Papa's Trail, and I know you have and Doug have had photos of the said rifle, allegedly. And I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, was he supposed to bring it to DB Cooper Con this year? Or was that last year? I think it's this year, but
it was, this past year.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it probably didn't happen this past year, of course. But I know you mentioned it to us when we spoke last, and
yeah, congrats on CooperCon, by the way. I heard it was a big success and well liked by everybody. And looking forward to the second book that's coming. Who was Skip? Not where was Skip? Who is Skip?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did not know this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have him back on when it gets close to coming out. So
that's an easy sell.
You know who was Skip?
Yeah, that's a great interview. One of my favorites with John Limbeck, and great guy. And
thanks for the info, John. I was wondering if there's any news coming out of that side of things, but man, yeah, that sucks.
Damn. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah. So where will the if he had possession of the rifle, where would it go? To his kids, Pappas' kids?
Hell, he might have willed it to John.
I'm sorry? Give it to John.
He might have willed it to John. Yeah, these old people, John, you got to start talking them into like changing their will a little bit. Like, hey, look, you're getting old. Something could happen at any time, really.
Mm-hmm.
You want that rifle to come home to someone who's really going to take care of it and preserve it for history.
Or to a museum that will kind of keep the idea alive. And John, I think being one of the runners of CooperCon would have definitely been a good person to kind of carry that on forward. But sad news nonetheless, but good to see you, John. We definitely hope to talk to you soon.
JFK back there is creeping Sally out. She's like, that picture of the guy creeping out behind the curtain back there. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's the skateboard.
Oh.
The Lone Gunman Podcast skateboard.
Wow. One of one.
A one of one. Hang on for a second, folks. Hold tight. It's been a while. Hold on. I'll be right back. Hold the phone.
Rob was a big skateboarder back in the day. So,
all right. Everybody's going to freak the F out when they check this thing out, Joe. All right. Let's see here. Okay. It's actually a skateboard deck. This is grip tape. You see who that is, right?
of course,
John F. Kennedy, young John F. Kennedy,
a young one, yeah.
swinging dick John F. Kennedy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Boom. Big, bad, Bob. Custom grip tape. It's all on the grip tape,
That is fire.
right? And then
Fire AF, as the kids say.
check this out.
Whoa. Whoa. Look at that. Is that me and you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's Ruby and Oswald. That is awesome, man. That is so cool.
Yep, that is a 1 of 1.
That is awesome.
So it's not just a creepy dude peeking out behind the curtain back there. It's a badass skateboard deck, Sally.
Yes. Well, Sally loves it. And
Keep sweet talking me. I might will it to you.
yeah.
Like John Limack needs to do to the Pappas family.
Yeah. Well, that is exciting news that he's coming out with a part 2, because I know the DB Cooper community has had a pretty good reception to his last book, which of course he came on and talked to us about.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that come up with suspects out of the blue, right? But Lauren Hall, I mean, seems to be pretty accepted by the DB Cooper community for the most part, which I was surprised by. Of course, fans of this podcast will know, right? We're fans of,
We were already on the Skip Hall bandwagon.
Yeah, but I was really intrigued to see it.
And believe that he was a badass operator dude who gave 0 F's about anything.
Yeah. I mean,
definitely pull off the heist. Lived in the right area.
Crazy enough. That's
crazy enough to do it. Smooth enough to do it. Balls enough to do it.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. You made my night, Rob. So thank you. So before we go too far over time, and like to thank the 60 people we have in watching right now, let's get into Paul Rothermel. What do you say, sir?
Let's get into him, Joe. I thought we were already into him.
Well,
I just interrupted you slightly for the Marina story.
Yeah. Well, my PowerPoint, yes, which we have yet to get into, which I might have to cut short.
Hang on. Hold on.
Okay.
Now, John, damn it, sir. You're going to have to come back on the show. In August, he sat for 3 hours in an Applebee's in Newton, Kansas with Skip Hall's only living son from his first marriage, Larry. Stay tuned. So he names his firstborn son after his best friend, Larry.
Lawrence Howard, of course. That is going to be great.
Yeah.
Wow. And I guess it's this last living son as of Pappas died.
His only living son.
Right. Well, Pappas was his stepson, I believe, right?
Yeah, the Pappas, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we can't wait to have you back on, John, for sure.
Damn straight.
And some things on my Lancer presentation, I want to ask you about Skip Hall and being in a Cuban prison and some of the people he met there. But we will get into that when you come back on. So, Rob, of course, there has been much speculation that Paul Rothermel, of course, the head of security for H.L. Hunt, had pre-knowledge of the assassination and even alerted the authorities, the DPD Criminal Intelligence Division, to be specific, that he had pre-knowledge that there was going to be a lot of drama on the parade route.
High drama.
High drama. And he made this memo, or he communicated this on November 4th of 1963. But so we're going to get into some of that, and I dug into this a little bit. This is actually an FBI memo about his November 4th, 63 report that was in October of 1975, actually. And it is, of course, about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas. Redacted reported that Earl Golz, G-O-L-Z, reporter, Dallas Morning News, came into possession of documents 3 years ago from Paul Rothermel, former special agent, FBI. So we should stop there. H.L. Hunt's head of security, Paul Rothermel, was a former special agent of the FBI. I believe it was for like 15 to 20 years. I don't have the exact number of years he spent in there, but that's kind of common even today, right? When you hire head of security, you hire former law enforcement and intelligence, right? Golz told the Dallas Morning Reporter, redacted, which I think is like DL or TLT1, an informant. He has a document dated November 4th, 63 from Rothermel to H.L. Hunt, now deceased, which states Rothermel was told by a reliable source that there would be a violence along the parade route to be taken by the president, John F. Kennedy. The communication further states Rothermel reported this information to the Dallas Police Department and the FBI. Redacted, again, I think the informant name, reported Golz has, over the years, written stories of possible conspiratorial plots to assassinate the president. That Golz will, if the story is written, try to tie in H.L. Hunt into gathering information about the upcoming visit of the president. The informant had no information when Rothermel supposedly reported this information to the DPD or FBI, nor information as to the identity of Rothermel's reliable source. So we're going to kind of go chronologically here as the FBI puts this together. Golz is of the opinion, although neither proven, that H.L. Hunt made contributions to the John Birch Society in California, who in turn were allegedly financing trained assassins, including an individual by the name of Eugene Brady, or possibly Brady, or Eugene Hale Braden, or Jim Braden, who of course was from California, Rob, who was alleged to have visited Mr. Hunt a few days before the assassination. Informant, redacted, said he would attempt to ascertain if Golz writes the story, including the above information, and informant, redacted, speculated that if the story is written, it will possibly appear in the Dallas Morning News. And it did. Review of the Dallas indices and all indicated references fails to disclose any record of Rothermel having furnished information to the effect that there would be violence along the parade route. So the FBI is saying, we don't have any information that Rothermel gave us this. This heads up. Nor has any information been located in the DPD files to substantiate any of the above information. Dallas will promptly interview former special agent of the FBI, Rothermel after October 1975 in this regard. It will be noted that Rothermel was redacted of the Dallas office, which is interesting because that piqued my attention here. It will be noted that in 1963, Rothermel, the head of security for H.L. Hunt, was redacted of the Dallas office. So what does this mean? Well, let's go to our cursive weekly learning session here as we prepare for the upcoming releases. Special agent in charge of out of town on, this is where I don't know what it means. This is why I like to include the chat and you on this. On kind of informant, I was kind of able to glean confidential right here, plus DL, which I believe was the code for the informant, is waiting until something too handled. Again, it doesn't make sense, but I wanted to get people's take here because I'm working on my cursive skills here, and but it's interesting that this is handwritten at the bottom of the redacted area here. So I think this is referring to this. Again, that is also kind of speculation. So if anyone in the chat wants to give a shot and at deciphering this, please put it in the comments and let us know. So, of course, the main point being is that Rothermel was a former FBI agent, and shortly after, there's another FBI report on Rothermel regarding this warning. And enclosed for information of the Bureau are 2 copies of FD 302, probably 302 reports, reflecting interview of Paul Marion Rothermel, Jr., 10/30/75 in Dallas, Texas. Rothermel, 2406 Little Creek Drive, Richardson, Texas, provided the FBI office with the following information. He advised during November 63 he was employed as a security advisor for H.L. Hunt and Hunt Oil Company of Dallas, Texas. On November 4th, 1963, he prepared an inter-office memorandum to H.L. Hunt and other key Hunt executives stating it was possible an incident might occur during the proposed visit of President John F. Kennedy to Dallas in late November 1963. This memorandum was not distributed to the FBI, of course they will say that, or any outside individuals other than Hunt employees, and was intended for the internal use of that organization. This memorandum was prepared as a result of Rothermel's conversations with members of the Dallas Police Department Intelligence Division and his own assessment of the political climate in Dallas during 1963. Rothermel had concluded it was possible an incident such as a protest demonstration might take place during Kennedy's visit to Dallas. Rothermel stated that this period of time, some Hunt Oil Company executives were politically conservative and thus in opposition to JFK's programs were intended. His memorandum was intended to inform these individuals of the possible occurrence of an incident so that they would not participate in any anti-Kennedy activities that would later prove to be an embarrassment for, of course, Hunt Oil. Rothermel stated he had no indication there would be an attempt on Kennedy's life and he would not and he would have notified the proper authorities, including the FBI, of course. Being an FBI former special agent, that seems kind of logical. But FBI document a couple days later, Rothermel actually advised and gave the FBI his memorandum he gave on November 4th, 63 to the FBI, of course, like 2 weeks before JFK. And this is what Rothermel says his memo internally to H.L. Hunt's Oil said. On November 19th, LBJ will be in Dallas for a short period, and he will then go on to San Antonio. On November 22nd, Johnson and Kennedy return to Dallas, where a parade is planned for them. There have been unconfirmed reports of possible violence during this parade. The FBI and police department each have planted an informant in the General Walker group here in Dallas. Interesting. As well as the North Texas State Group. The North Texas State Group informant is reporting information that would indicate that the group may be planning an incident. There is another report from a left-wing group that an incident will occur with the knowledge of the president, whereby the left-wingers will start the incident in hopes of dragging the right-wing groups or individuals into the conflict and, of course, creating press. The talk is that the incident involving Adlai Stevenson, which, of course, we know happened a couple weeks before, and of which Lee and Michael Payne attended that John Birch Society meeting. It might have been the day before that. Made the present administration hopeful and that they can get the same thing to happen to Kennedy. It could reassure his reelection. So they're kind of saying like a false flag to indict the right wing will help Kennedy's reelection chances. I don't know what to make of that. Quote, the above information comes from a reliable informant, and while it is in the hands of law enforcement agencies, there is no publicity about it. Again, this is Rothermel memo to internal Hunt employees, right? About 18 days before the assassination. If an incident were to occur, the true story of who perpetuated it would never come out. That is a weird statement. I don't get that. But I'm going to continue a little more here. I have thought about the problem, and I am wondering if a few letters to the editor might be a good way of pre-exposing this. In fact, if there is a planned incident, Rothermel stated after reading the above memorandum that it now appears he made the document more forceful than he had recalled. So again, this is 77? So it's almost 15 years after the assassination. He advised it is his recollection that there was indication of violence during the Kennedy's visit and at that time, and the information concerning the FBI and police department informant was his own conclusion. Rothermel again advised it was the purpose of this memorandum to dissuade H.L. Hunt and other employees of H.L. Hunt Oil Company from becoming involved in the anti-Kennedy activities during the presidential visit. Okay, a lot to unpack here. So, if you're a billionaire, the richest man in the world, right? Is your head of security pretty gangster and connected?
Should be.
He is saying, I predict violence, and I don't want you, H.L. Hunt, or any executives of the Hunt Oil Company going near this. That is what I would want my head of security to say. I don't necessarily view that as shady. Although he doesn't give his sources, but he seems to be in touch. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, of course he's still going to have friends in the FBI who he talks to and gets information from, as well as local PD is probably, being that they have to work with them so often on various things as well when it comes to, God knows what, appearances, just normal course of business. Everybody knows who H.L. Hunt is. Everybody knows, how rich he is and how powerful he is. And he lives in your town, So you're going to have friends in high places in the city government, the state government. And as we'll come to find out here, he was able to pick up the phone and call President Lyndon Johnson anytime he wanted to. And you know what? Johnson came to the phone every time H.L. Hunt called.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not necessarily suspicious if you're the richest man in America and you're a politician and he's from your home state and they were
Right.
friends. Like, you're going to pick up the phone if you have any interest in
Right.
fundraising ever again. Right. So,
yeah. You're gonna there are certain calls you're gonna take, and that's
yes,
one of them.
Yes, that's like Trump not taking a call from Elon Musk.
Not saying you're gonna do whatever the guy says to do, but you're gonna at least take the call.
Correct.
Out of
Of
respect.
course. Yes. 100%.
Because if you don't,
100%.
if you don't take that call, it could be viewed as 20,000 things of disrespect.
Yeah.
And once you lose that, I mean, this was the day when people actually cared about their reputations and, worked off handshake deals and people's word and shit.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. So it gets even more interesting, though, sir. So the next day, after Rothermill sends this internal memo out, Captain Ganaway of the Special Service Bureau, the Criminal Investigation Department of the DPD, sends out a memo with a warning that threats are being made from both the right and the left on JFK. And they talk about this informant, I guess, William Fitz, returning.
Not to be confused with Captain Will Fritz.
Fitz, yeah, but I thought I got confused at first. I had to do a double take as well. The plans were being made for the coming visit of the president, and he stated, "We will drag JFK's dick into the dirt." End of quote. He emphasized the group would have well-planned demonstrations during the president's visit to Dallas. So very interesting that this is showing up literally the next day. So I'm going to jump a few years ahead here now because we're yapping like six barbers, but this is a CIA memo. April 68, Rothermill advising who else but J. Walton Moore, the domestic contact for Dallas from the CIA. And it says about Bill Wood, agent for Jim Garrison, and this is around the time of the Garrison investigation. Paul Rothermill, security officer for Hunt Oil Company, advised Jim Moore, aka J. Walton Moore, that he had been visited recently by a Bill Wood, who was making investigations in Dallas for New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison. Wood was inquiring about the CIA and its operations. According to Rothermill, Bill Wood used to work for an individual named Claymore Wright, publisher of the Houston Tribune. Rothermel said Hood went to work for Jim Garrison under the name of Bill Boxley.
Yeah.
Was that his real name?
Bill Wood
I
was,
did
yeah.
not know that. Or I didn't realize that. Rothermel also told Moore that Wood is well known in Houston and that his connection with Garrison is no secret.
Yeah.
This is the first that we have heard regarding this matter. I am sure the subject is the same William Clarence Wood Jr., who visited the Houston office early 67, volunteering his services. At that time, he said he was executive VP and editor of the Houston Tribune Publishing Company, a local weekly paper. You may recall that we were impressed with Wood's sincerity, aka you used him. He volunteered. He had worked for the agency, and that his resignation had been readily accepted because he had developed a drinking problem. He also said he had not consumed a drop of alcohol for 9.5 years, and blah blah blah. We requested a name check clearance, which was received the 3rd of March, 1967, followed by an eyes alone in quotation memo. Tiny, help us out here. What does that mean? Containing adverse information. Because of this, we dropped Wood as a potential source. So they're admitting he was a source at some point. We have not heard from him since March 7th, 67, the last time he volunteered his services. Although we have no contact with the Tribune, the current editor of the paper, Harold Pyle, is reported to be an exceptionally fine individual. Translation, he's probably a source. That I'm adding that there, guys. He retired from the Chronicle many years, joined the Tribune. J. Walton Moore says Rothermel has nothing more to add regarding Wood. If there is need for details regarding Wood's separation from the Tribune, we believe it will be possible to obtain the information discreetly. Yes, because the current editor is also your asset, is my take on that. So there's been a lot of speculation online that I was reading, Rob. Was Rothermel CIA? I'm not ready to go there, but I think this document lays out a pretty good case that he's probably an asset of some type.
Right. Which is not out of the realm of possibility given how close he is to one of the richest men in the world. Okay.
And a former FBI agent as well,
Yeah.
special agent. So you think he might not be a complete traitor, but he might give some information, talk to J. Walton Moore. You know what I mean?
Trade information.
Yeah, exactly. And so that is fascinating. And I just have one or two things here more. So I did find in the Warren Commission, this is Commission Exhibit 2270. Jesus Christ. Of Connie Trammell. And you might not know the name as I mentioned it, Rob, but you will recognize her circumstances when I read this.
Oh, yes.
So in April 63, she and a group of seniors from University of Texas came to Denton in connection with the promotion of a best show. Sorry, this is hard to read if I'm stuttering. They stayed at the Adolphus Hotel across from the Carousel Club and had a party at the Carousel Club, of course, owned by Jack Ruby. She met Jack Ruby at that time and had a lengthy conversation with him. She graduated from the University of Texas and returning to Dallas from her home to try and secure employment. Rob, this is the girl that was allegedly taken to H.L. Hunt's office with Ruby.
Yes.
This was about the middle of November 63. She sought employment for 2 or 3 days and then called Ruby to see if he needed an employee. Ruby said, I'm only interested in you if you can show your goods.
Teats.
That is not part of the document, guys. No, probably more. Sorry, that's ad-lib there. At this time, he tried to get her to go into show business, which she declined to do. She thought perhaps he could employ her temporarily as a hat check girl, right? Hat, coat check, or in some capacity while she was trying to find a job in her own line of work. About November 20th, 1963, that would be the Wednesday, she called Ruby and told him she had an appointment with Lamar Hunt, which would be H.L. Hunt's son, of whom the Lamar Hunt NFL or AFC trophy is named after. A prominent oilman in Dallas. She called, and inasmuch as she hoped that oilman or that Ruby might have a personal acquaintance with Mr. Hunt. Ruby came out to her apartment on November 21st, 63, and they again discussed possible ideas for her to secure employment. And he drove her down to the office of Lamar Hunt. She was with Ruby from about 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it was on the day before the president was assassinated. On the way downtown, he stopped at the Merchant State Bank on Ross Avenue for a few minutes. She had not heard or seen Ruby since. Miss Trammell stated that Lee Harvey Oswald was not known to her, and she had no knowledge of any association with Ruby and Oswald, and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know that was in the Warren Commission, but I've heard that story before of the girl, the stripper that didn't want to be a stripper, right? That Jack Ruby took to Hunt's office to try to get a job for her.
Very nice of him.
Hey, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He just wanted to eat her and stuff.
I have a funny picture on that later. But since I'm running out of time, of course, Rob, there is the Dear Mr. Hunt letter.
Yes.
And this is it. And it is dated November 8th, 1963. And I believe it was found by Penn Jones Jr., Senior, whatever.
Junior.
Junior. Hoover. And of course, there's been a lot of speculation. Was this Mr. H.L. Hunt? Was this Lamar Hunt? Was this E. Howard Hunt? Was it that guy Hurt in North Carolina? But this letter did not get discovered until 77, I believe.
Yeah.
I could be slightly off. So, I mean, they had all of Oswald's letters and shit. You know what I mean? So this, unless it's a big cover-up, it would be a stretch for it to be randomly found then. But
I have no idea where this letter was found. Do you have any idea where the provenance of this letter? It's in the book, so I'm looking. Now hold on. Hold on a second.
Apparently, Penn Jones said it was given to him a while ago, but he didn't publish it for a long time because he didn't know, or this or that. There was handwriting experts analysis gone on with this. I believe the HSCA did some stuff too on it, and they actually, one of the handwriting experts said, yeah, that's kind of Lee Harvey Oswald's penmanship. But it's hard to imagine a situation where poor old Lee was writing a letter to any of the Hunts. But
here's what the, Currington has to say about it.
Sure.
This letter showed up in our inter-office mail system after the assassination, and that in and of itself wasn't peculiar. The 1960s was a more innocent age. People will find the stories in this book of getting on an airplane with a briefcase full of money or using an airline ticket in someone else's name to be altogether unbelievable. But in reality, the idea of security was nothing even close to what it is today. By that same token, people will often drop off an envelope at the front desk of Hunt Oil, and it would get put into the mail system for delivery to the addressee. And it could take several days or even weeks to reach the person it was intended to, depending upon the volume and efficiency of the inter-office mail delivery system.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly how the Dear Mr. Hunt letter came in. And since it did, in fact, involve Mr. Hunt and did, in fact, suggest a meeting with Oswald, we elected to turn it over to the FBI and never saw it again. In private, Mr. Hunt did raise the question as to whether Lee Harvey Oswald could be a lifeline listener, something that I think might have been a concern for him. This letter has become legendary over the years. Some say it came from an anonymous source, or from Mexico, or from this person or that person. It has been said that it was definitely written by Oswald because on one particular curlicue on a letter, or that it couldn't have been written by Oswald because of another particular curlicue on another letter. Personally, I have no idea whether it was written by Oswald or not. I only know that it showed up in our office and we gave it to the FBI, and what they did with it or how they funneled it to whoever is something that I have no idea about. So, he is confirming that this letter did come in to the Hunt offices at some point after the assassination. Or I know it's dated November 8th, but he says that they weren't. Nobody realized it.
Yeah, didn't process
after the assassination.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure. Listen, he runs the biggest oil business in Texas. I'm sure he gets a ton of job requests. And we know for a fact that Lee was applying for jobs all over town. Right? So even if it was from Oswald, it doesn't necessarily mean anything salacious.
So go ahead and read it one time, Joe, so everybody can hear it.
I'm sorry, or let me read it. Okay. Yeah, it's cursive, so we will go into our cursive exercises here.
So that, AKA, Rob might have to read this.
I am asking only for information on suggesting that we discuss.
Okay, you're fired. All right, let me read it. I would like information concerning my position. I am asking only for information. I am requesting that we discuss the matter fully before any steps are taken by me or anyone else. Thank you, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yes, thank you, sir.
It's very vague, right?
Very vague.
But it is interesting.
Very.
What could it mean? Who the hell knows?
Yeah. And like I mentioned, was this to HL? Was this to Lamar? Was this to E. Howard Hunt? A lot of people have suggested that this was addressed to E. Howard Hunt, and he's asking what should he do next type of thing.
Yeah, but Currington's saying it came into the HL Hunt offices. So
yeah,
ideally it would have been addressed to either HL Hunt or one of his adult male children.
Yeah.
Also probably in the same building.
Yes.
Yeah. We have the letter, but we don't have the envelope. So we don't know which Mr. Hunt. It could be Bunker Hunt. It could be Lamar Hunt. It could be HL Hunt. It could be Hugh Hunt. It could be, Howard Hunt. Or
Caroline.
It could be Haroldina. We don't know.
It could be Haroldina. Or, well, you never know. It could be Mr. or Mrs. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. And Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of controversy over this potential letter and what it could possibly mean. And I honestly, like, I don't know if.
My personal belief is that this letter was not written by Lee Harvey Oswald. To me, that just does not look like his handwriting. It is way too neat. And
he wrote already on the job at the TSPD.
Out his middle name like that, just signing a letter, he would have said, "Thank you, Lee Oswald."
And he was already working at the TSPD then. So, I mean, you don't think he's going to be super active on the job search? I mean, like crazy active.
Well, it doesn't necessarily imply a job search. It just implies that, okay, I'm in place. What do you want me to do next?
Well, position, I think, semi implies it. Position as in job, at least some interpretation.
As a job, or literally, I'm in place at the place where you told me to get a job at. What do I do next?
Right. That's why people think it could have been to E. Howard Hunt. Right. That's why people think that. Yes. So, I mean, that's a whole nother crazy rabbit hole, but that we'll move on to. But I want to share really quickly the Hunt Oil Company response to this letter. A spokesman for Hunt Oil Company categorically denies that the H.L. Hunt ever knew, communicated, or ever received communication from Lee Harvey Oswald. A speculative news report in a local Dallas newspaper had indicated that Oswald allegedly sent a letter to an unidentified Mr. Hunt in early November '63. An inference was made in that story that the Mr. Hunt referred to might have been H.L. Hunt. Now, on the basis of the speculative story, local broadcasts and at least one national news magazine have continued to report that H.L. Hunt may have received such a letter. It is highly prejudicial to assume with absolutely no supporting evidence that Mr. Hunt in the alleged letter refers to the late H.L. Hunt. Such unsubstantiated slurs against a man who is deceased and can no longer defend himself is shameful. A public or private apology has been requested from the newspaper, which printed the story initially.
Roger
That
Moon's
was
Coming of the Night.
What do you say?
It's on screen.
I know. I have the document up.
It says, but his mailbox was empty in the movie, implying that this letter wasn't in there. That may be LOL. Bravo, Roger.
Yes, thank you, sir. This is from one of his sons, H.L. Hunt's sons, one of the
many.
One of the many.
One of the H's.
To the best of our knowledge, H.L. Hunt never met Mr. George de Mohrenschildt, nor had any business dealings with him whatsoever. So I guess one of these allegations came from de Mohrenschildt and, by extension, William Altman's.
Well, we talked about that Wednesday night.
Yeah, I know. Synchronicity, sir.
Yeah.
That's why I included this. Any allegation by Altman's that H.L. Hunt was involved with de Mohrenschildt, who was also an oil man, or Oswald in any way are figments of a strained and distorted imagination. It is ludicrous to state that H.L. Hunt had anything to do with the assassination of JFK. Mrs. H.L. Hunt, well, one of the three, denies categorically that de Mohrenschildt was ever in the Hunt home for any reason whatsoever. I guess George said that at some point. The claim that de Mohrenschildt was a friend of H.L. Hunt is totally false. Records of Hunt, and they did keep really good records, Rob, because they did find the Rothermill internal memo, right? Warning of possible violence on the parade route, and this letter. They really did. We saw the typists they had there. They really took great records from what I could tell. Records of the Hunt family bear evidence to this fact. The de Mohrenschildt name never appeared on any of these records. It has been publicly reported that de Mohrenschildt had a history of mental problems. If, in fact, de Mohrenschildt ever claimed to have any relationship with H.L. Hunt, those claims must be viewed accordingly. It is easy to generate publicity over the grave of a dead man who is no longer able to defend himself. Mr. Altman seems to be an expert at it. The family of H.L. Hunt refuses to be savaged by Altmans who attempts to discredit the memory of H.L. Hunt by vicious innuendo and unsubstantiated charges. Oof.
Booyah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not sure if the Hunt letter was written by Oswald. I lean towards no. And if I do, and if it was, I don't think there's anything particularly.
It's so vague, it can never mean anything.
Right.
You know?
Right. So, yeah, some cool stuff on Rothermel. And, we went through his warning internally, and then the DPD memo the next day, the Mr. Hunt, Dear Mr. Hunt letter. A lot of allegations surrounding the Hunts, but which ones are true?
Yeah. When you're a billionaire, you
folks.
Don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? So let's move on to another Carrington story here, Joe. You ready for this one?
Let's do it.
This is under the section, The Murder of Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay. Saturday afternoon, November 23rd, the nation was in shock over the death of the president. Late that afternoon, I got a call from a lady who did cleaning and ironing for my family. She said that her husband had been arrested for a DWI, and she asked me to come get him out of jail so that he could come home. Before I could leave, the phone rang again. It was around 5:30 p.m. or so. When I picked it up, Mr. Hunt asked me to go down to the police station and check out what kind of security, if any, they had around Lee Harvey Oswald. I never questioned anything that Mr. Hunt asked me to do, and with the DWI case, I had a perfect excuse to be in and around the police station. Bonding someone out of a DUI required maneuvering back and forth between the police station and the courthouse, so I went back and forth there 3 separate times. No one questioned me, checked my credentials, searched my briefcase, or took any special security measures. In fact, on one of my visits, I pushed the elevator button, and when it opened up, goddamn, Captain Will Fritz was standing there with Lee Harvey Oswald in handcuffs. Obviously, he was being moved around for questioning or some other reason. Fritz recognized me, and I said, "Meet the son of a bitch who killed the president. Lucky me. It's my lucky day." I had seen Oswald before, so I made no comment. When I finished with the DWI, I went home and phoned Mr. Hunt around midnight. He had been very specific in his instructions that I was to call him no matter what time it was. I told him about my experience at the police station, and I assured him that there was no extraordinary security around Oswald at all. Mr. Hunt then asked me to contact Joe Savello, the head of the Dallas organized crime family, and asked him to stop by Mount Vernon because Mr. Hunt wanted to talk to him. And Savello did so at about 6 a.m. Sunday morning. Later that morning, I was sitting at the First Baptist Church of Dallas listening to a sermon by Dr. Criswell when someone walked over and handed him a piece of paper. He opened it, read it, and after a pause, somberly announced, "Lee Harvey Oswald has just been shot." I had a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach and thought about my visit to the jail to check on security and my contacting Joe Savello. I later learned the details. At 11:21 a.m., Oswald was being transferred to the county jail by an armored car. As he was taken through the basement of the police station, Dallas club owner Jack Ruby pulled out a gun and shot him in the gut. 2 hours later, Oswald was died at Parkland Hospital, the same facility President Kennedy had been taken to and died 2 days earlier. There have been many different theories as to what prompted Ruby to shoot Oswald. What I know about Ruby was that he was a wannabe gangster that ran a burlesque club in Dallas. He badly wanted to be someone important, but never was. Mr. Hunt was aware of who Jack Ruby was, but to my knowledge, they'd never met. I doubt Mr. Hunt ever had any private business whatsoever with Jack Ruby. I certainly never saw Ruby at the Hunt offices, and I doubt Mr. Hunt would ever set foot in the Carousel Club. I went there a number of times, but strictly on business. When we had an important client in from out of town, I would rent him the presidential suite at the Adolphus Hotel in downtown Dallas, and then take him over across the street to the Carousel Club for an evening of entertainment. The dancers there were pretty much all call girls, so the client could pick out one he liked and take her back to the hotel for a date. In quotes, I have no idea whether Ruby got a cut of the money or not, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit if he did. That's just the kind of guy that I believe Jack Ruby was.
Mhm.
And I don't doubt he was whoring out his girls. Heard that allegation before.
Yeah, and maybe to the people that couldn't afford the Adolphus, they went to the Six Flags Motel.
Yeah. There is one curious footnote to the murder of Oswald, however. Now, when Jack Ruby was taken into custody and strip searched, police found 2 transcripts of H.L. Hunt's Lifeline radio program in his pocket. During Ruby's incarceration, Hunt wanted to keep up with all of his activities, who sent him mail, who he contacted, who visited him in jail. I received regular reports that during that time and passed those on to Mr. Hunt. Oddly enough, in the eyes of the law today, Jack Ruby is considered legally innocent of Oswald's murder, even though the killing was broadcast to over 1 million people. Ruby was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death for the killing, but his lawyers got the conviction overturned, however, based on a couple of legal issues that were associated with the trial. This completely erased the first conviction. But before he could be retried, Ruby developed pneumonia and was admitted to Parkland Hospital in Dallas. And doing some medical tests, doctors realized he had cancer of the liver, the lungs, and brain. And within 3 weeks, January 3rd, 1967, in an ironic twist to this story, he died in the same hospital that President Kennedy and Oswald had both been taken to and died previously. The official cause of death was listed as a pulmonary embolism secondary to bronchiogenic carcinoma, which is lung cancer. Speaking of Ruby and Oswald, the next section concerning Mr. Hunt and Joe Savello may suggest an answer to the question of why Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald. But we're not going to go there on this program. If you like it, check out the book, H.L. Hunt, Motive and Opportunity. It's not a thick boy, it's a thin one. It's maybe 160 or 70 pages of goodness, something like that. But yes, thanks to Mitchell for sending this to me 7 years ago.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him with Currington actually today. Very interesting for sure.
Yeah, this the paper they sent in with the book. And I told you this Wednesday night, but I think we were already off the air. It says, "Dear Rob, as we discussed via email, I'm enclosing a complimentary copy of the new book, H.L. Hunt, Motive and Opportunity, for your perusal. I hope you find it interesting. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop me an email. And if you'd like me and or John on your show, we'll get that done."
Oof.
I don't know if either one of them are still alive or not. Do we know if Currington's still alive?
He was alive as of 3 or 4 years ago.
He looks a day older than dirt 7 years ago. But who's to say? You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm glad you mentioned Joe Savello, because that's another thing that's talked about with H.L. Hunt and Currington, and how Joe Savello, who I have this here. So in the early 1950s, boss Joe Piranio ran the Dallas La Cosa Nostra. Since 1930, he had controlled bootlegging, gambling, bars, and strip joints in Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. In 1956, Piranio committed suicide, and his underboss, Joe Savello, took over operations. both Savello and his underboss. So he became the boss, and the underboss became, wait for it, Jack, Joe Campisi, claimed kinship with New Orleans La Cosa Nostra boss Carlos Marcello. Through these men, Marcello controlled various illegal rackets and vice business in Dallas. Savello had been convicted for narcotics trafficking in 1937, but after his parole from Leavenworth, he and his associates Joe Campisi, Sam Campisi, John Coletti rose in the ranks of the Dallas Piriano family. Jack Ruby was a frequent visitor to Savello's grocery and Campisi's restaurant. Of course, we know Campisi was one of Ruby's earliest visitor, if not his earliest. And so the story goes, Savello was called in the middle of the night on, I guess, early November 24th, right? The early morning hours of the 24th. And he was told, H.L. Hunt wants to see you by Currington. And when he arrived at 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning, they had a meeting. They don't know what about. And a few hours later, Jack Ruby shoots Oswald. And the implication is Savello had something to do with that. Now, it's a tough one. I think Ruby was assigned that way before the early hours of Sunday morning.
But he was stalking him all weekend, yeah.
Yeah, but could he have been maybe reinforced to try and do that? Very possible, but very interesting that that Currington essentially says like the boss of the Dallas family wanted to meet with H.L. Hunt, and H.L. Hunt woke up in the middle of the morning and early morning hours of Sunday to meet with him. And I think Rothermill says something about that too. I don't know if he completely corroborates it, but it's fascinating for sure.
Definitely. All right, folks. We're long in the tooth.
Yeah. Well, I had this highlighted earlier, and I couldn't have said it better. Tiny, become a covert operator and join us on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, it's
we
real
have a lot
easy.
of fun.
The link is in the description of this here video. I made it real easy for you now.
So, I mean, did H.L. Hunt have a role in the assassination? I mean, I'm not convinced. Did he give money to right-wing and Cuban causes? Yes. If he did he know that was directly going towards this mission or operation? I'm not sure, but we know our audience is very educated, and we have given you the facts, and you can, of course, decide for yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen.
And for one night and one night only, Joe, we're going to give Dino the night off in our closing segment here.
Ruby's going to be pissed.
No, we have another one.
Ooh.
We're just giving Dino the night off tonight. He will be back, but for one night only, we have a special guest helping us close the show. and his name is Singley. He's the single bullet theory. Singley. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Once again, thank you for everybody who hung out with us, and
thank you.
Always a blast. You guys made it lit in the chat as per the usual.
Over 60 people right now, Rob. Over 60.
Some big swinging dicks showed out. So thank you guys very much. Hopefully next week I'll have more energy and life in me. It's been a rough week for your boy. I've been sick all week, and work sucks. It is all. It's good seeing some people we haven't seen in a while. Thanks for hanging out with us. And without further ado, Joe, get the damn dog and start dancing. Oh, Seth.
Friends from the Warren Commission have been hearing about all of my wacky adventures. And now I'm going to share them with you, too. We're going to have lots of fun. Come on. Behind me is good old Lee Harvey. Can you say lone gunman?
Lone gunman.
I knew you could do it. Now, some people say he's working with the Cubans, or the CIA, or the Mafia. Oh, that's all a big load of horse hooey. And he definitely isn't a part of a secret cabal within the U.S. government led by Lyndon Baines Johnson in order to put him in the president's chair and jumpstart America's involvement in Vietnam. Whoa!
Ruby.
Here we go, kids. It's time to do what I do. Oh, I always get butterflies in my stomach at this part. Wow, that was a real kick in the fanny. Hey, there's some sort of motorcade over there. Let's go check it out. Look at all the nice people. I'm gonna say hello. Howdy do. Nice to meet you. Oh, this tickles. Now, I'll wait right here for 1.6 seconds and then turn right. Whoops, a little lost here. Maybe I should ask for directions. Now, I'll change the station on the radio and turn on the windshield wipers. Ain't I a stinker? And now back through the rest. And finally coming to rest at the left thigh. 1 bullet, 7 wounds. Not bad for a day's work, huh? But I ain't done yet. For my last bit of magic, I'll appear out of nowhere on a stretcher in a corridor of Parkland Hospital. And I'm still in mid-condition. Ta-da! Well, kids, I sure hope you enjoyed learning about my special abilities. We sure had fun, right? And if anyone tells you there was a conspiracy, you can just tell them that Sassafras told you different. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was just one silly bullet. Bye-bye, kids.
All right, folks, that's it for us. Bye, Ruby.
Bye.
And Ruby, you behave yourself and stay out of them drawers, girl.
Oh, next episode, I'll show up.
Tune in next Wednesday.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend. Rob, I hope you feel better.
Your lips to God be yours. This is an underappreciated version of the theme song.
AI, right?
Hell yeah.
Jack Ruby's name in whispers, a man with secrets to deliver. As shadows dance in the moonlight, the lone gunman unravels the fight. Truth buried in history's tomb. The lone gunman still unfolds between Oswald and the classy knoll.
Good night, Tiny.
Yes.
The story never dulls.
Give your Valentine a kiss. Make your night, the rest of the night.
Between Oswald and the classy knoll. The truth, the mystery untold. On airwaves, the story never dulls.
All right, folks. Till next Wednesday. We out this bitch.
Later.
Deuces. 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 Deuces.